Hey guys, welcome back to Compound, and today we're going over the Jeddah Grand Prix, obviously Saudi Arabia's first Grand Prix, first real race at Jeddah. Obviously the Formula 2 and Formula 3 earlier on, which had some incidents, and we'll get some more incidents today. So I'm here with Charlie as always.
Hello.
And yeah, let's get straight into it. You messaged me during the race. I got two messages, one from one friend saying, what a race, which was you, and the other saying,
hmm
what a shit show. I think that summarised the race quite well. Half the fans were like, what the fuck was that? And half the fans were like, oh, that's fucking good. What do you
I
think
think
then?
as a race, it was a terrible race because there wasn't that much actual racing. It was just just a mess of incidents that had to be intervened with all the time rather than actually just letting people race. Um, as like a show, it was great. Like as a one-off, boom, watch this.
As a spectacle, it was a nice
Yeah,
feature, but next year, when I see it coming around again, I'm gonna be going, "Oh, for fuck's sake, here we go again!"
like here
Like,
we go again.
yeah,
It's kind of that Monaco vibe of like you just know things are going to happen with the walls and everything like that, and then this is even quicker. Like
it's
the
Silverstone with
speed
walls.
was
Like,
yeah, which is mental. Um, but go on, you give your opinion about what you thought about the multiple
okay,
incidents. Sorry.
firstly, the fucking uh, the Ferraris looked dodgy all weekend. So when Charles put it into a wall, I was like, "Yep, sure." Like, I understand because Carlos, that back end, was hating him. His mother looked terrified in the pit. She sat in the pits, just like watching, terrified, and his son's car was about to throw
Yeah,
him into a wall at 200 miles an hour. Track in general, fun. Qualies, really enjoyed watching in qualifying. They need to sort out the first corner, towards the end of the track when everyone was bunching up because that was causing like issues when you were coming around at 200 miles an hour around a corner blind, and there's just five cars just sat there waiting very like too slowly. Even as a
I don't
minimum
think
speed limit, it's
that's not a
dodge.
track thing though. That's just something the FIA
No, but
need
the
to look
nature
at
of the
anyway
track
because
being so
yeah,
blind on the corners and so
yeah,
fast, that's what was causing the issue. Like, unlike for example, Silverstone, you can see cars a lot higher up. There's like walls in the way and shit. Anyway,
but that's an issue
qualifying.
across multiple tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, qualifying though, what a quality lap from Max until it all went tumbling down. But he was there, he was pushing, he
Yeah.
was pushing. And I was watching it. I was like, oh, all right, Lewis P1, da, da, da. And I was like, Max purple sector, Max purple sector, and I was like, oh fuck,
He
he's
was
gonna do it.
a quarter of a second up by the
And
end of the
then
sector two. You almost want him to look at his steering wheel, realize how high, like
just
how
pull it
far
back a
up
little
he
bit,
is,
mate. Like,
and just go, okay, actually, I don't need to.
Christian Horner worded it very nicely. Jeddah, from a team's perspective, sector one is driver skill. Sectors
Yeah,
two and three is just engine, and that's what
yeah.
Horner. Okay, this is Horner's roasting the glass for Max, but take into account where were Mercedes strongest, where was Red Bull strong. Like on that
It's
straight,
funny though because the bit that was meant to be just engine and not require any driver skill is the bit where Max put it into a wall in sector three.
but he was trying so hard.
He still put it into a wall though, didn't he?
End of the day, it's 11:59. But we move. Going on to that same part of the track. Let's get into the race. Obviously, red flags, red flags, red flags. I said to my partner, let's watch it. It's the shortest race of the season. So they said 2.5 hours later, we're still watching the race. I
Yeah.
had no problem with it, apart from the sheer amount of damage that's being caused. It wasn't, it was, from a safety perspective, I'm happy with the red flags, don't get me wrong. It's just more of
Yeah.
the, should a racetrack, obviously it's the first try, they won't know, but if Formula 3 and Formula 2 all had red flags, and then Formula 1 gets two red flags, you got to think, right, should we look at the track a little bit, make it a bit, like, add a little bit of runoffs here, make it, even like France, have that slightly wider runoffs and stuff, so you don't go straight into barriers and stuff.
I think the thing I found so weird was that they had the F2 race beforehand and like they know that there's going to be these incidents and they know from other street circuits and stuff that you're going to have these incidents, you're going to have to do red flags and get debris out of the way. But then to have like 6 laps or whatever it was behind the safety car and then be like, actually, yeah, we'll pull the red flag out. It's like you knew that was always going to happen.
That's
I,
what
I
Red Bull
feel
did in
like,
Pit Max. I fully reckon they went
well, no,
Charles.
I
They
think,
thought they saw the Charles red flag in the same area. There was red flag practice even. They
mm,
looked at it and went, right, that's a red flag to fix it. They saw the same crash happen, more damage to the barrier, and then Charles went, they've yellowed it. That's going to need a red flag. Max stay out, and then it all just kind of played to their hands of they've gone to fix the barrier. Max has now got a free pit. Well, Lewis has already pitted and lost the place.
I don't think that Max wanted to move to the hard tyre like Lewis did. So, and I think Red Bull were banking on there being another
Yeah,
red flag later on. So they didn't need to worry about using their pit stop in that first red flag because they were like, well, there will be another safety car. Or like another safety car to allow them to have that cheaper pit stop. I think that in itself is a completely ridiculous rule because of that thing of having so much safety car time and then going actually red flag. There should be a thing of if you have 2 laps behind the safety car and then a red flag, you can't change your tyres because you've had that opportunity.
It already messed up Lando's race. Lando's race got fucked by it.
Ruined his entire day, yeah.
And it's just, you think about it, it's like, okay, they tried, but then it's also down to strategy, all that stuff. And if you say yellow, under the yellow to red flag thing that you said then, after 2 yellows and it goes to red, you can't do any changes to tyres. Or can you go and do wings? Can you change any parts? Because when on the red flag, you can change any part of the car that's broken as long as it's not a different part.
The broken thing is, I think, a different thing because that comes under a safety.
Because if the red flag was caused by a crash and a shunt.
Yeah, like you need to let people fix the cars. And I think that's fair to fix the cars. Like the rule, they were saying about the rules being, should it be you can only change the tyres if the tyres are damaged and worn, which obviously the FIA then have to get involved in looking at
how worn is the tyre? Is it 10%?
How damaged is the tyre? Like it'd be stupid to not let people change to wet tyres if the race gets red flagged because of an accident. Yeah, like and then you come in and then it's like, oh yeah, it's pouring down with rain now. You need to put wet tyres on, but you can't because of the red flag. But I feel like a lot more logical approach could be had for what we saw yesterday.
But then the more areas you add, the more FIA and stewards intervening, as we saw the last couple of races, the more levels of arguing there is. If it's just a flat, no tyres or flat, because it's been, throughout this whole season, me and you talked a couple of times, consistency with their rulings have been really fucking lax, or they've been like really strict, or they've been weird. Lando puts Perez off, 15 seconds earlier in the season. Max does it to Lewis, nothing. Max does something worse in Brazil than this week. Like, I'm not saying this new penalty, so not the 10 seconds come out this morning, the 5 second yesterday.
Yeah.
Doesn't get a penalty, but actually, Max last week, I was saying, fair racing. Last week was more of a case for a penalty than this one because both Max over-sent it and he was trying to correct himself. He was like, he braked a bit early to fuck Lewis over, but he didn't physically steer Lewis off the track intentionally. He fucking overshot a bit on his brakes because he was pushing as well. So this week was less, was more racing than last, this was more racing than last week. And that's
again, I think that he knew in Max's head, it's that thing of, I've got the inside line, I'm just going to drive until there is no corner to make for the second part of the chicane and I'll go straight. Whereas when you watch the replay, especially from the onboard from Lewis, you see him, he's braking. He's got Max there on the left of him. And then Lewis is like almost going backwards to try and go around the curb. And like, because it puts Lewis in the position of, okay, he's cut the corner. Mercedes know that's probably going to be a 5-second penalty or you're going to get told to give the lap back. So it doesn't matter that Max is driving off to begin with. If Lewis hadn't tried to make that corner, I don't think there'd be any penalty because Matty will turn around and go, you've both gained an advantage because you've both cut the corner.
And that's kind of my mindset was thinking about this.
Max would have still been 2 seconds further ahead, but then like you say, got pulled back for it.
But then last weekend nothing happened, and it's just this inconsistencies going through where it's also that 10 seconds, right? When it was 10 seconds after the race, obviously come through this morning because of Max's braking, giving the place back. He gave the place, or attempted to give the place back 3 times to Lewis during the race. The first one, this is where we argue, because I said Max pulled to the right and braked. Okay, Toto said brake check. Max was giving it back. There was a problem with the FIA communications, apparently, because Mercedes are fucking pissed off of it. They were not relayed that Max was giving it back then. However, throw all that out the window. In a race, you're leading in front of me. You start slowing down, you're my rival. I'm going to, if I see you randomly slowing down, it could be engine failure. You could have been braking down. You dip and go out the way. Because if your engine went, or something happened, you broke down suddenly to the side of the car, I'm not just going to plow into the back of you. You're going to dodge, or just, fuck it, I'm going to overtake you because I've got the pace here anyway. Because it's the straight, you have the pace and go for it.
No, because it was right before the detection line for the DRS. Lewis was on the radio trying to get them. But that's not right.
Max can do that, though. Max can give it back whenever he chooses. There's a window. He chose to give it back before.
So DRS, Lewis can also say, "I don't want to take it back yet. But I'm going to drive slower." But then Max broke and pulled 2.8 G, which is why Lewis hit the back of him. Like Lewis would have just stayed behind him, got to the line, gone past the line, then overtaken him.
But then surely, if you still think though, if you're racing, you're like driving the road, driving the car slams on in front of you. You got to be prepared. I know the speed not prepared for that. Because Max didn't just stop. I know they're racing closely, but as a driver, should you go fuck it round? So if he just locked up, some like you people lock up randomly and stuff, you got to be slightly
like people.
But then don't penalty. Yeah, I'm still. I'm still
because
that.
they lock up. Then they're braking for the corner. Max had
Yeah.
eased off, then accelerated, accelerated, and Lewis, because Max was told, and the
Give it
radio
back.
message was, give the place back tactically.
Yep.
Meanwhile, you've got Lewis saying to his team, I want this place back, but I'm obviously not going to take it right before the DRS line, because like the second time when he went past, he just
Ding, ding.
overtook him and then went straight back past him. Like Lewis in that moment is going to be understanding that Max is trying to do that.
Yeah.
So personally, I think the FIA should take the most responsibility for it, because they're the ones that
communications. They didn't say Max do it now. They didn't do this.
they've told Max to give the place back before letting Lewis know, oh yeah, by the way, he's going to give the place back.
Yep.
And they should also, in my opinion, say, give the place back. And they kind of did in the end, because when he did do the whole switcheroo thing, they made him give it him back anyway.
So a third time, and then and then you give a 10-second penalty after the race, as well as that. Like the guy gave the space back. You weren't happy with the way he gave it back the first time, because Lewis went to the back of him. Cool. So he gives it back again to tick the box. You went, no, that's fucking around. Stop doing it. And then you give it back another time. And then you went 10 seconds. And it's like, okay, you've given it back to him. You've tried to give it 3 times, and then something 10 seconds on. If he'd just given it once, because he did everything by the book on the second time, where he literally gave Lewis it and took it back again. In the book, that's basically he just took it, and they weren't happy because it wasn't enough of a.
Because it's not giving it back. He was still taking an advantage into the corner because of where he
to appease them. Though.
No, because where he put his car, he was making it an advantage. Like,
but everyone does that. Lewis does it. It's you want to, if you're giving a place back, you want to be in the best position to get it back.
Yeah, but normally it's at the next corner, not still at the same corner where you try and get the place back immediately. But like, if the FIA had said to them, going into T1, you're going to give the place up, then there'd have been no worries about DRS lines or anything like that. Max wouldn't have been able to just jump straight back ahead of him. I mean, he might try and cut turn 2 again, but would have obviously got another 5-second penalty, so wouldn't do that. Like, that could have all been so easily done and sorted. But other than that, they didn't feel like there was much else going on in the race until the last lap and the absolute heartbreak for Esteban Ocon. Have you seen his interview afterwards?
I haven't seen it. He was there the whole time. I was actually I nothing against Ocon, but I've just never.
You don't like him,
I've just never liked him. I don't know why. You know, so you just don't like him. I don't know why. I've just never. And even me, I was like, go on, fucking fuck Bottas over. I was cheering him on to get it because fuck it, mate, go for it. Like, beat Bottas, kind of like, it was 0. Was it 1/10 of a second, or it was literally down to like, almost a picture finish or something silly, wasn't it? It was so close.
0.1, yeah.
Yeah, so it was
a second.
And he held on for so long, and he got. I feel bad for him going back to FIA consistency. When they went to Red Bull under the red flags, Max will get P2. Do you want to take the Max go back from P1 to P2 start? And I was like, but what about Ocon? Because they
corrected themselves eventually.
But it's still like, this shouldn't be happening. It's like the ref going, oh yeah, disallow that goal, but 2's just happened, so we take away 2. We think it's like in football, you wouldn't get these random disparities, people getting confused and stuff. It needs to be tightened up, because
it was a little bit.
Would fix it for Lewis as well. Lewis would have known Max is going to try and give it to you here. He would have, if he had known that, he would have been more prepared for Max to do something like slow down, do something. So it's more of communication seems to be the major problem with Jeddah.
I mean, that's a good point.
In general at the moment.
If Lewis had been told that Max was going to give the place back, and it was going to be right by the DRS line, Lewis would have gone through at 200 miles an hour and try and just absolutely go. Yeah, because then there'll be a battle down into turn 1, but Lewis would be a bit more prepared for that. But,
and it's all down to just communication, where the FIA just in general needs to sharpen up, because little things. How long did it take to get a VSC's come on for that first lot of shrapnel everywhere? Like, there seems to be shrapnel on the track. Marshals are seeing it. They're obviously reporting it back. I see shrapnel. And then with 3 laps, and you got Alonso coming on, going over, hi guys, there's still shrapnel on the track. Can you sort? It's like someone from management walking down to like the shop floor and cleaning it up for them. It's like, you just it should be seen, reported. Yep. What is it? Is it bigger than 15 centimeters? Okay, cool. Slaps on the VSC. It should be a lot faster, because.
Yeah, some of those stewards are going to go home with a lot of nice souvenirs this weekend, aren't they? If they've managed to pocket any of that carbon fibre. There was bloody loads of it around.
So Kimi Räikkönen, obviously, had a bit of a race. Him and Seb are battling like back at Ferrari. bit of weight shedding, kind of just cut off the side of his skirt and sideboard, which I actually do. My heart went for George Russell. He was doing fucking nothing wrong. He was just there going along. All of a sudden, Mazepin up his arse. Christ.
I mean, Russell was trying to avoid crashing
Everything
into the side
going
of
on,
Perez
yeah.
going in front of him. Mazepin was completely blind to it, though, to be fair to him.
They've got the bit that I found the strangest. They kept cutting back to Checo and George. Just wait, because they obviously hadn't prepared for
Standing
this
there.
number of cars. You sat there and it's like, right, get an Uber. It'll be faster. Get on his phone, get an Uber. He's just standing there waiting on the side of the track like, can I have a lift? Lift, please.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's COVID and you can't put multiple drivers in the back of the Aston Martin DBX. You could put like Checo and George in the driver. They picked one of them up, drove them back. Another one up, drove them back. It's like, I don't know why, but it just seemed to be they were waiting for a long period of time, just standing there on the runoff, just sweating in the Saudi Arabian heat.
Yep.
0-0. No points across the board now. The season's reset. Basically, all the race races you've watched are completely pointless, and it only comes down to one race. Abu Dhabi, Max,
Yes.
Las Marinas. I can't pronounce it.
Yas
Yas
Marina.
Marinas. You've got new track.
Well,
with
new-ish.
New-ish. They've changed bits. They've added a bit more ramping. I think they've
or
made it so you
something,
can wider, there's a bit more overtakey areas. Should be more of a race rather than just a quali procession. Mercedes are the fastest here, just on paper. Normally, it is their track. It seems to be. They always tend to have the stronger, I don't know, strategy engine. Well, this track works for them.
So yeah, I was watching the ending of the season that when Rosberg won it, and Lewis is leaving the race and trying to back Rosberg into the Ferraris because he goes over the radio and goes, "At this point, I'm losing the world championship. I don't care about winning this race." And you just think, is something like that going to happen?
What do you
In
reckon?
the way
A
of, like-
Valtteri pull it out of nowhere, just like,
No, not a Valtteri, but that thing of a driver is just going to be brutally honest and say, "I couldn't give a shit if I don't win this race. I just don't want the other person to win it." And the only person that's in that position is Max. Max knows if he
Kimmy's in that
drives.
position. Kimmy
If it-
is leaving the sport next year.
No, yeah, but if Max drives Lewis off the road, for example, if they get into an incident again,
Yeah.
Max is going to be elbows out because Max has won the most races. So if they both finish outside the points, it doesn't matter.
So then it goes back to most races win. So Max is currently,
Yeah.
if both of them 0-0,
Yeah, both of them 0-0, Max wins the championship. So Max still has the advantage in terms of he can afford to, if both of the cars don't make it to the finish line,
he could do a
Max
Monza.
wins. And unless Max violently drives into the side of Lewis or something where he's not even trying to make the corner, if he like just straight up plows into him at T1,
Black flag,
then-
get off.
then the FIA can dock points and whatever, because that's obviously not fair. But I think Lewis's thing will just be, I just want to get the car round and to the finish line and hope that I'm ahead of Max. I think these
Perez
last couple of
needs to
weeks,
sort it out. Like we've been seeing going weekend to weekend.
Yeah.
If Perez was
It's
there
up
last
there.
weekend, he would have actually fixed it. He would have helped with the strategy, and I think would have the Red Bull taken the championship as well.
I think that the last couple of weeks have really shown the difference between that sort of like the mental game of Lewis, who's been there, done it, and
7 times
can do it
potentially
over and
now.
over again. Yeah, deal with the pressure. One of my friends on their Instagram story put seasoned veteran against a hot-headed prodigy is what basically is going on right now, because Max wants it so bad, and obviously he does, but it's that thing of Lewis just seems so much more relaxed at the moment.
But he knows he's
And-
got 2 more years in the sport at this moment in time. He knows next
At least
year.
with the top team, yeah.
Knows next year he'll be going into a car where he'll probably still be the favourite, but he'll then and then the year after potentially, I think, stepping back, letting George take over, is what he thinks. So he's like, cool. If it doesn't happen next year, complete reset, everything changes next year. We go again, and I think he may take solace in the fact that he knows Red Bull are really going hard to win this year, like really trying, which means they're probably
because
spending less on dev time for next year. So they're going, right, we know what we're
next year is
spending next
unknown,
year.
isn't
They know he may know, okay, we've got something insane in the garage next year that's actually Red Bull are putting all their eggs into this year's basket to try and win this year. If I don't get this year, cool, I can easily get an 8th. So Everton, I can 8th next year because Red Bull are skimping on this year potentially. Like he may be taking solace in the fact of, because they know what's going on. They have like information from different garages and stuff. But
Yeah.
prediction.
Go on, sorry.
I'll say, what's your prediction? Because I was gonna say, I'm feeling. I want a Max Lewis Bottas. you don't hear me say this, but I want Bottas to get a podium just because Bottas. Because I would
His last race, yeah.
Last race in the Merc go on and get because he won't get P2 because I make them invert the cars. Like Bottas can't get P2 unless Lewis is P1. That's the only way they can do it.
I was going to say, I think this is going to be a weekend where Bottas puts it on pole, Bottas leads the race, and at literally the last corner, they're going to switch the cars. Lewis is going to win it, and then it's all going to be hugs and kisses between Bottas and Hamilton, which is kind of nice to see that because Bottas is moving on, like all the bad blood is kind of gone, and they are sort of a bit buddy now. And Bottas, like Lewis was cheering for Bottas when he put it on P2 this weekend for qualifying and stuff. Like, I think that's going to be the thing. At this point, I just don't see Lewis losing it because of that, like the mindset that he seems to be in at the moment with like how on it he is. The one thing I want to see is, I know, like in my opinion, I do think Max can be a bit of a sore loser at times, which is fully expected. You know, he's going out there driving at 200 odd miles an hour and then not winning.
Well, he's not exactly mature. Like, he's our age, but he's not exactly mature like a Kimi or a Lewis or a Seb. Kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I just hope that come the end of it, whatever happens, whoever wins, there is a handshake and a fist bump and a smile between the two of them, and they go, you know, fair play, like well fought. Whether that's going to happen now after Lewis has just said that Max is over the line,
I do think limits, I think was that man's over the limit, man. I think was his phrase.
If Max wins it, 100%, I expect Lewis to go up, shake his hand, say, "Well done, congratulations!" Like, go win another 6, and then we're even, sort of thing. But you just hope it will be the other way around, and that all that sort of like the angst that's been there sort of dies off, and we go again next season.
I don't think.
What's your prediction?
I don't think we're going to get a McLaren out of nowhere. That's been my last couple of weeks.
You've been saying that for ages, and they've been like P10.
The strategy's been fucking them up. They have the pace, and then they get fucked, and their strategy just isn't hitting right. So they had it peak middle of the year, but I think we're going to see strong Ferrari pace randomly just through practice and qualifying if Charleston put it into a barrier. We're then going to get I'm going to say Lewis pole, Valtteri P2, Max P3. Checo won't be there. He'll be like mid-table. And you'll see the typical Max be P3, but just does Valtteri on the start. So it's a Lewis Max 1-2 race. And then Mercedes, I would want Max to win on the Red Bull strat, but I think Mercedes will out-strategy Red Bull here because it's the Mercedes. They just do better at this track, like historically. Cool. Well, that's my prediction. That's Charlie's. Let us know what you think down below. Drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe. Every little helps. See you later.